Okay, we're here with John Daiber from K&D Countertops. I forgot which city.
Trenton, Illinois.
Trenton,
Outside of St.
Illinois.
Louis.
It's right outside of St. Louis.
Yeah.
And what we wanted to do is give you a little feel for a fabricator that was manual at one time, right?
Yep.
And both in templating and production.
Yep.
And has made the digital transformation both in templating and production. So you can get somebody's take that has done this already and how they feel about it. And so let's start with how long were you manual?
Oh, we started in laminate in '97. The first digital template we used was a system that was put out by Fab Choice. It was like an R2D2 looking thing, a big old clunky. It had an arm that pulled out, reached out. So we used a lot. We tested a lot of digital systems.
Which ones?
We tested the e-template,
Yeah.
the one I just told you about, ProLiner, your first iteration with, with the PDA, and then the LT55.
Okay, all right. And you settled on ours because you liked it the best, I guess. I would hope.
Yeah, we use LT55s now exclusively. We've got 5 units. Love them. Tops have never fit better than they had. You know, prior to the LT55, we used Phototop for a long time. The system worked for us. Some obvious drawbacks for us were the cost of the tape. Not being able to verify the measurements on the job site. That was the big one.
You were using the second seats or just the full seat?
The Phototop.
Yeah.
At the time, we were using full seat, so we'd have guys go out, take the pictures, and bring them back, process the photos.
But they could have processed them in the field.
They could have, but
It took a long time.
When we were still using Phototop, it was a long process. You would take a half hour to process a set of photos.
So now you got real-time data. The minute you hit the line, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're able to verify the measurements, so we could trust that when we leave the job, that a top measured with your system will actually fit. We can take that back measurement and say, that's 144 inches, it's 144 on the screen. We can feel reasonably comfortable that.
Do you always check something? I know some guys don't. I think that's.
I think it's it's something that'll take minutes, and not very often do we catch something, but a lot of times we'll catch where maybe the guy hit the wrong place, or he snapped to the wrong line when he was,
Offsetting something
yeah.
or something like that. Yeah, okay.
So it'd be something oddball like that. But I mean, it's not often, but for the time it takes to check a couple quick measurements, the overalls usually we check. The sync centers, because those are critical, and there's some interpretation about where you place the target. So.
Yeah, or is it the cabinet center line that it automatically would snap to, or is it some line or point that you put there because you want it to be a little bit off, maybe because it's an L and there's an overhang.
There's a window. And,
yeah, right. We want to match the window and not the cabinet base or whatever. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about scrap, rework, stuff like that. Prior to digital templating, what would you say? We like to say that the national average is 10% where you got to recut something. What did you think you were?
As far as rework?
Yeah. Where were you at with manual templating, and where do you feel that you're at now?
With manual template, I mean, we never really tracked it as a percentage. So I couldn't give you a number, but I could give you a feel. I mean, we because of mismeasures, or because in the old day with Luan templates and stuff, we would routinely have to remake tops because they didn't fit. We hardly ever remake tops. I mean,
nobody wants to say zero, but you could say.
I mean, it could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, but hardly ever do we remake a top because it doesn't fit.
Well, they say, if you listen to some of the studies done, that the national average is 10%. It's 1 out of 10 tops.
We're way lower than that.
Well, I know now, but I'm talking about in your manual days.
It wasn't 1 out of 10. We weren't that bad.
You weren't that bad?
No.
See, a lot of guys are proud. They just don't want to admit it, but
No, we weren't that bad. If I had to get, 1 out of 25, where we had to remake because it didn't fit. I mean, a lot of what you're talking about is installers could correct it. Now, did it take the installers an extra hour at the job site?
For 2 guys?
Yeah, because it wasn't cut right. That's a whole different. That's a whole different.
That can happen a lot.
Yeah, that probably did happen a lot. I know it happened.
Well, if you look at that, it's 2 guys. They spent an hour and a half. That's what, 3 hours worth of labor.
Right.
At $20, $60. That's a over $1 a foot if it's a 50-foot job.
Yep.
You lost, boom, just like that.
Yep. So if you've calculated that into it, that would happen every day. We'd have guys come back and complain, oh, this job, we had to cut this, or we had to torque it this way to make it, fit the walls. And
Now, are you and Stuart and those guys, you're pretty legitimate about tracking costs and things like that, Did you ever put together a total cost of making that digital change on at least a price per foot maybe, or something that the people can hear to help make a decision?
I mean, all I can say is, in the beginning, when we first initially made the transition, that first year in material and labor, we were able to save like $300,000. That's
300,000.
Absolutely, that's 100% real money. 300,000 in labor. Going from 3 shifts to 1 shift. So utilizing material better. Save about 5%, 5-6% on material utilization. So that's just.
And how many of our features do you use? I know we're like a buffet. We've got a lot of stuff in there you can use.
I think we use
second seat. Where you use it to estimate in the showroom.
No, we don't estimate with it. We use a second seat to kind of pre-program. I mean, we've got a customer service person.
Data information, stuff like that.
Get stuff prepped.
Well, because the people in the office are a lot better job at typing than the Templator usually.
Yeah, they'll have the stuff prepped for the the Templar. So when they leave, they've got all the information entered. They just have to pull up the file and start.
Now, something I like to ask everybody too that uses this. I mean, do you take our actual colored profile edges and program the CNC to grab those tools?
No.
Or you haven't got to that point yet, or not?
That hasn't really worked for us. And to be honest with you, Chris would probably be a better person to talk to regarding why that's a challenge for us. But I know it's something that we worked on, but just
Didn't like the way it worked?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's something that we like to think that people can do. In fact, we went from, this might make a difference for Chris, I was talking about that, but we went from 13 colors to next month it'll be 256. So maybe it was because the particular layer on the machine was a color that we didn't offer.
Yeah, and that might be. That could be.
And yeah, that's a change we just made. Yeah. Now, do you use any other companion? We use Moreware, right? Or do you? No? 2020, anything like that? No? Straight up right in the machine, Alpha Cam, done.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think you could say about people that are looking at this that would make them feel better about what the customer thinks when they see you with this versus a pile of sticks and glue?
Without a doubt. I mean, not only what the customer sees, but the ability to be able to offer a one-day install where you're not tearing out their kitchen. And then coming back 2 weeks later with a finished countertop that may not fit, and then turn around and having to, remake the top and be back a week later with a top that still might not fit. I think that's probably the biggest thing is be able to offer a customer the convenience of a one-day install. But obviously, I think their perception is that we're a reputable company when we show up with a laser measuring system. It's something that we actually market. I think.
And we've got a guy in Chicago that made me make up a used but not workable unit so he could put it in his showroom and show the people what it does.
Yeah.
And he said, I need more for my other showrooms. I said, no, I can't just do that.
No, every time we have an open house or any kind of event, we always show it off, and because it's something that intrigues people. People love technology. People.
Lasers are like eye candy, I swear.
Yeah.
People, what's that? Yeah. So it's, look, Johnny, look at the man's got a laser. Actually, that's been a problem for some of our guys. They said, it used to be that we spent, an hour and a half on sticks and, we were down to 15 minutes on the laser, but now it's kind of creeping up because Mrs. Smith wants her son to watch me work and I got to do, so he puts on a pair of red glasses for that we use for the saw laser and he goes, okay, Mrs. Smith, I'm about to turn on the laser here and you and Johnny, I'll let you know when it's okay to come back in. And that's kind of funny. In fact, builders aren't even smart enough to know that. One guy had a pot holder that was like quilted out of silver stuff, and he would just stuff it in his pants. It would hang down like a little, like an apron. And all the other guys are going, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm going to turn this laser on here. Because they're pounding with hammers and stuff and nailing and making noise. And they just scatter like cockroaches when the light comes on. It's kind of funny. But it's good stuff. And anything else you can tell us about people who are thinking of making the decision, but they don't want to go digital and they're on the fence and they're afraid of it?
Well, I mean, I think digital is definitely a must. I think every fabricator is eventually going to have to be digital. I think the digital template is the first step in that process. I mean, I think none of the other stuff matters until you can, have
No, the machinery won't work, yeah.
right.
It's a little tough to stick that 8-foot stick template in a USB slot.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I think it's just the way the industry's going, and there's no going back. I mean, it's just.
I don't know if I mentioned that when we were doing that seminar, that the metalworking industry, if you aren't CNC, you're not in business at all, period. There's not even any manual guys left anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see it up there. I mean, there's very few people who don't have CNCs at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, there you have it, another happy customer. Thanks, John, for joining us and telling everybody your story.
Sure.
All right.